Welcome back. North Korea has conducted fresh ballistic missile tests. US and South Korean officials say Pyongyang fired 2 missiles off the west coast of the Korean peninsula. For more, I'm joined by CNN chief US security correspondent Jim Scuitto. Jim, one of these missiles traveled about 800 kilometers. What does that suggest about North Korea's capability to reach its enemies?
Well, these were medium-range missiles. They're known as the Nodong. North Korea, as it turned out, actually fired 2 of them yesterday. And when you look at the sequence of events in the last several weeks, you'll remember a couple of months ago they fired this space launch, which is in effect an ICBM test, an intercontinental ballistic missile test. Then just 2 weeks ago they had shorter-range rocket tests. And now they have this medium-range test. So you have North Korea, in effect, showing its range of missile capabilities here, each of them potentially with a different target in mind. The ICBM, of course, the threat being to the U.S., the west coast of the United States. These medium-range missiles, in addition to being a threat to South Korea, also to Japan. And in fact, these missiles yesterday were fired in the direction of Japan, landing in the Sea of Japan. And just one more thing I would note, Lynda, that is that the missiles yesterday were launched from mobile missile launchers. That's key because those are more difficult for U.S. Surveillance satellites to spot the preparations for, because the launcher is moving around all the time. So this is really North Korea showing to the world that it has a growing capability and in effect making a threat to a number of potential adversaries.
And so many tests they've carried out, as you mentioned, in the last few months. Why are they ramping up this now?
Well, this is, as always, it seems, with North Korea, in part in response to the world's response to their previous provocations. So it started earlier this year with an underground nuclear test. Then you had that space missile launch. And then in response to that, you had the UN, China, the U.S. included, getting together on what were a relatively strong set of sanctions, a UN Security Council resolution. Whether those sanctions are enforced is another thing, but that was a strong response. North Korea responds to that with another test. And then just 2 days ago, you had the U.S. announcing its own unilateral sanctions against North Korea, economic sanctions, and you had these missile tests yesterday. It's a very typical cycle of provocation and response that the U.S. and the West sees from North Korea. And of course, the concern is that as that cycle continues, does it escalate? Does it get closer to open conflict? And that's, of course, always the fear.
Yeah, that would be a major concern. Jim Scuitto, great to have you with us. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynda.
Well, still ahead at the international desk, new questions are emerging about a shooting at a coastal resort in the Ivory Coast. What a military source has revealed to CNN about the weeks leading up to the massacre.